Ricken Financial presents Kickin' with the Rickens, Redefining Retirement. Gerry Ricken and Heidi Ricken Provost want to help you reach the retirement you deserve. Let's build a strategy that gives you the confidence while meeting your financial wants and needs. Meet the team at rickenfinancial.com. Now, Kickin' with the Rickens.
Welcome back to Kickin' with the Rickens, Redefining Retirement. I'm your co-host, Doug Turnbull, here with retirement planners Gerry Ricken and Heidi Ricken Provost. Heidi was actually on our last episode and did a great job breaking down what inefficient money is, and that's a term, and starting to learn more of these financial things I didn't know much about, I'll be honest. Then turns out I'm the king of inefficient money, I think, being not planning for retirement, just having money sitting in an account, just hanging out. But Gerry is on with us today. Gerry, and you, I know we got another big subject to talk about as far as longevity risk and making sure your money lasts long enough. But Gerry, how are you doing today?
You know, I'm doing fabulous, Doug. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great, thank you. Honored to be on with you. And we mentioned in the last episode, had some technical gremlins that delayed our recording a couple of days. And I love recording with you guys on a Monday because that just kickstarts my week. And we've had to wait till a Thursday here. But, you know, hey, Thursdays are always a fun day because it's Friday Eve. So
that's exactly right. That's
Ricken
exactly
experience
right.
Is real.
Yeah. You know, every day is a holiday, baby. So you just got to keep that in mind. You know,
it most assuredly is there, Gerry. Well, let's talk about, because you were recently on a trip and a very sentimental one, you and your wife, Sheila.
Actually, we're haven't gone on it yet, but we are going on one. You know, this morning when I was coming to work, I heard the Cody Johnson song "Till You Can't," and you know, I'm a huge country fan. And Cody Johnson has this song out right now where he talks about the value of spending time with family. And I think that's vitally important because a lot of us get so preoccupied with our time and where we spend our time. We spend a lot of time at work, but just making those opportunities and taking advantage of those opportunities to spend more time with family. Because when, you know, some of the lyrics in Cody Johnson's song is talking about going fishing with your dad, you know, and you delay it until you can't, you know, and talking to your mom on the phone and, you know, do that until you can't, because sometimes those opportunities go away, and they do go away because we all don't live forever. But speaking of living forever, I want to tell you something, Doug.
Let's hear it.
Joe Ricken is the oldest member of the Ricken family right now. And on Halloween this year, he turns 100 years old.
100. That is such a big milestone there.
Oh, it's amazing. It's amazing. And he is so spry and so sharp and so much fun to be around. Sheila and I are going to go to his birthday party, his 100th birthday party. That's the trip we're talking about going to in Clovis, California, which is right outside the Fresno area.
Yeah,
we'll be doing that a couple days after Halloween, so on the 2nd of November. And actually, you know, I'm a huge Halloween guy. I think we've talked about that before, how I carve huge pumpkins and do all that stuff. This will be the first year in my married life that I will actually be out of town on Halloween because we're actually going to be traveling. So all the candy will be next door, and there'll be a big sign at the front door, and all my pumpkins will still be there. But I won't be there to experience and to hand out beers to all the adults and candy to the kids. So
you don't want to get those mixed up, by the way. That can
you certainly don't. You certainly don't. But it's vitally important for us because we want to spend time with family, and we don't get to see that side of the family that much. You know, we have family reunions, but this will be a smaller family reunion of sorts. But we want to go out and spend some time with Joe and celebrate this milestone because I don't know about you, but I have never been invited to a 100th birthday party before, and I actually have never met someone who's turned 100 years old in person before. So this will be a first for me, but I don't want to miss it. So I'm going to spend some time with all the family out there, and because you never know when you can do that until you can't.
No,
and we know Joe's making this milestone, but we don't know how much longer we're going to have the pleasure of his company. So that kind of leads me into what I want to talk about today is longevity risk.
Yeah,
a lot of people come to see us, Doug, and they say, "Well, you know what? I don't have that much longevity in my family. And only 20% of your longevity has to do with your gene pool." Okay, it has to do primarily with lifestyle and the luck of the draw, you know, and only the Lord knows how long we're going to live, and He's not sharing that information on a regular basis with us. So we like to plan for everyone to live to age 100. That's what our plans do. And people look at us like we're kind of crazy, but you know, case in point, Joe's turning 100. Okay, but the longer you live, you have all these risks in life, and we need to plan for those because, the longer you live, the more of a chance you may run out of money. Okay. So, and that's the biggest concern for people. AARP has been doing an analysis or a survey of people turning 65 every year for the last, 20 years. And up until about 2006, I think, the biggest fear for people turning 65 was that they're going to die. Okay?
Really? Okay.
Yes. After that is I'm going to live too long. And I'm going to outlive my money. I'll be a burden on my kids. I'll be a burden on society. That's the biggest fear now. And that fear has continued. That's been number one since then. So what we want to do is make sure that you have income as long as you have blood pressure. That's one of our favorite lines around here. As long as you have blood pressure, we want you to have income because we don't want you to ever run out of income, because income in retirement is the most important thing we can focus on. So that's why we develop an income plan. How do you claim Social Security? Do you have a pension? Do we create other streams of income? And tax-free income is even better than taxable income. But income in retirement is the key to longevity risk, to at least solving one piece of longevity risk. So there are all kinds of different risks out there. One of them, the longer you live, the longer your health may deteriorate, the more likely your health may deteriorate. So what's your health care plan? What are you going to do in the event that you need long-term care in the future? How does that life look for you, and how can we plan for that?
Yeah, we're talking about that in the middle of open enrollment season, by the way. So there's some big decisions that every person in retirement has to make.
Absolutely right. That's absolutely right. So that's one of the things we always focus on is, okay, if you retire early, and early means before 65, what's your health care, how are you going to handle your health care needs with health insurance? Then after the age of 65, as you just talked about, Medicare kicks in. But then what about Medicaid in the future? What about long-term care? And we talked a lot about that in past episodes, but that's one of the things we always focus on. We want to make sure that you have a plan. However that plan looks, we want to make sure there is a plan so we can plan our work and work our plan. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've done an income plan, and there's many variations there, the healthcare plan, and then there's the next one.
Yeah. And the next one is, what about market risk? The longer you live, the more likely there is the market's going to correct. And the market's going to correct. Do you want to be riding that wave down, or do you want to have some protected? So it all depends upon what your risk tolerance is. And then we look at that risk tolerance, and everyone is different. Every one of our plans is different. Every one of our people is different, just like your fingerprint's different than everyone else's. Everyone is unique in their own thought process on how they address market risk. And we want to make sure that your thought process and your investing strategy match each other. Because if they don't, and there's a disconnect, we want to make sure those are connected so that you feel comfortable with how you're investing and it matches how you want to invest, because a lot of people don't really understand how they're investing until they go through this plan and this analysis. So that's another thing that we look at.
Well, that's what's so important about coming in and meeting with both you, Gerry, and with Heidi Ricken, Provost, is that y'all could go over this stuff, and it's not set it and forget it. And you don't say, hey, I'm retiring at just say 65. Here, I want to press this button, that button, cruise control, my Tesla is self-driving, go. It could change from year to year, and as your health problems fluctuate or health successes fluctuate, as all of that, you need someone like you to help show what levers might be the better ones for someone to push.
And thank you for saying that, Doug, because it isn't a set it and forget it. Because when we do our plans, they're living, breathing documents, because those are living plans because as life changes, your plans change. And we meet with clients periodically and more frequently than some of them like to meet with us, but we like to see everyone because we want to make sure that we have they have and we have our thumbs on the pulse of what's happening in their lives and making sure that their plans are adjusted accordingly. Because if you just set it and forget it, that can be a disaster waiting to happen. So we never want that to happen.
And we talked about it in the last episode when Heidi was on too. Just, I have my money sitting in my savings account. Look how much I saved. Well, are you using all of it? Is it a high yield? Is it not? Oh, okay. Make it work even better for you. So we've talked here in this segment so far as far as covering yourself or trying to help cover yourself long term. the income plan, the healthcare plan, how much market risk are you willing to stomach, or I guess you call it a risk analysis, if you will. What else should people be considering as you go through the years, as the Doobie Brothers sang?
Well, through the years, through the last several years, we've seen that I word, the inflation word, rise up. And I always love to hear the talking heads. Well, inflation's going down, and people really realize, they think if inflation's going down, the cost of things have gone down. No, that just means the escalation of the prices of things is slowing. But the cost is going to stay there, and it's going to just increase. And it's going to increase the longer you live, the higher prices are going to be. So that income plan also has to have stair steps to make sure that we account for those increases as you get older and as your expenses rise. We want to make sure that that income rises as well. So they have to match and they have to be parallel with one another, because you don't want to be losing purchasing power and having to change your lifestyle just because we have inflation out there. We want to plan for that.
My late great uncle Ralph, he passed away when I was 32 years old. For all 32 years, every time I saw him, or let's say once a month that I saw him, or when I saw him a lot, I lived close to him, he would just reminisce going back to eating out at downtown Atlanta in 1960 and Coke being a nickel or something. He'd be like, "Oh, we used to get a Coke for a nickel and a hamburger for 10 cents." And I'm like, man, if you were planning your retirement based on 1960s food prices or whatever the year was, it may have been earlier in the 60s. Don't hold me to that. Just to this point, even if it's more gradual, I mean, you're looking at just a couple of decades or 3 or 4 decades. If you have really good health of retirement, you can't expect a can of beans or something to be the same.
Well, that's exactly right. A lot of people, when you hearken back in maybe the late 70s, early 80s, when you bought your first house, then you compare that house price with a new car today. The new cars probably today are more expensive than your first home was.
It's crazy.
It is. It really is. But that's what's happened. That's what's happened, and it'll just continue going. People say, "Well, when is this ever going to stop?" It won't. Let's just call a spade. It won't stop. It will continue. As long as they're alive, there's going to be inflation. So that's why we need to take a look at that. The other thing, the longer you live, the longer there's regulatory risk. A lot of people don't think about regulatory risk, but what's going to happen with the broken systems of Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security? How are those going to be changed? What are the regulations going to do to change that may impact your income in the future, that may impact your taxation in the future, that may impact the way you can qualify for Medicaid, for Medicare? All those things are regulatory risks that are out of our control. But what we want to do is make sure that we're on the pulse. But that's why we look at every proposed regulation out there. Heidi and I read those regularly, and we share that with people because we want to make sure that our clients are informed. Because if it affects you, we want you to know before you get surprised.
Yeah, well, you definitely don't want to be surprised, especially if you're late in retirement. You got that weak heart. We don't need any surprises, okay?
That's None. Exactly right.
Okay, well, we want to keep that pacemaker going right now. Okay, now the last one here is that I see is about tax planning and strategies. That there's a guarantee over time that inflation's going to go up. If you look over long periods, there are always changes in tax laws, and sometimes they go up and down. But the general trend, Jerry, and you've been covering this stuff for years in the business, right? Is we haven't seen taxes over long periods go down. Right?
No, we did when Ronald Reagan was in office, but since then, when you think about taxes, when you think about, oh my gosh, we end with the Tax Cuts Act that went in 2017. Actually, in 2018, what we're going to see is that law sunsets in the end of next year. So on January 2026, we're going to see our tax rates go up, provided there's no changes. That's what current tax law says. So we want to make sure, even if that does or does not occur, and we extend those tax cuts, we want to make sure you're doing the right thing for you and your family on a tax perspective, because that's what we base our entire program on, or all of our plans on. We look at taxes first and foremost, because we want to make sure you're paying your fair share, but no more than your fair share. And a lot of people don't even understand what you can do to plan for that in the future. Our goal is to make sure that if you retire, you can retire tax-free. And people look at us like, how is that possible? It is possible. You just need to plan accordingly and make sure that you understand what you can do and what items you can change in your portfolio, in your life, to make sure that you're paying less tax in the future than more tax.
Hey, well, look, Gerry, your family's been in this. It started with your father. Your daughter's taking it over. That's 3 generations of the Ricken family that have had some kind of hand on financial planning and monitoring the trends over time there. And so that means that people need to come in to you guys right now, Ricken Financial, rickenfinancial.com, and start letting your eyes and hands be around their information so you can help them get pointed the right way.
Well, that's absolutely right. And, Doug, when I think about longevity, I think about a lot of people that we have met over the years who didn't really think they were going to live that long, and they're living longer. And they're living longer and longer and longer, but the plans are in place. And we meet with them on a regular basis. So we'd love to help everyone out there just take a look at what it looks like and what it looks like prospectively going forward, especially with respect to saving taxes in the future and making sure that you never outlive your income.
For sure. And that's why the tagline here, Ricken Financial, at least one of them, is helping protect and preserve the retirement you deserve. And by the way, just a reminder, I need to say it at least once every time we record here, but helping support or helping when you go to Ricken Financial, help support the SIBS camp in honor of siblings or people that have passed away of cancer, as your daughter Mary Beth did over 20 years ago. So we always need to remember her. And one way to do that, Gerry, is the way we wrap up the show every time. So since it's just you and it's not Gerry and Heidi here.
Before we wrap up, I want to say one more thing, Doug. I want to say one more thing.
Yes.
And that one more thing is happy birthday, Papa Joe.
Happy birthday, Papa Joe.
Absolutely.
100 years old. That's incredible there. So I'm so glad that you're getting to see and hang out with him. And you cannot go through a life without looking at it this way, as we say. So, Gerry, here we go. Every day
is a holiday.
And life is short.
Laugh hard.
There we go. In honor of Mary Beth, and happy birthday to Papa Joe. Well, folks, again, we thank Gerry and Heidi in the episode before for giving us info and education here. And if you want more, again, go to rickenfinancial.com. And we thank you very much for listening to Kickin' with the Rickens, Redefining Retirement. We'll have another episode coming your way here very shortly.
Insurance products are offered through the insurance business Ricken Financial LLC. Ricken Financial LLC is also an investment advisory practice that offers products and services through Impact Partnership Wealth LLC, a registered investment advisor. IPW does not offer insurance products. The insurance products offered by Ricken Financial LLC are not subject to investment advisor requirements. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal. Any references to protection, safety, or lifetime income generally refer to fixed insurance products, never securities or investments. Insurance guarantees are backed by the financial strength and claims-paying abilities of the issuing carrier. This podcast is intended for informational purposes only. It is not intended to be used as the sole basis for financial decisions, nor should it be construed as advice designed to meet the particular needs of an individual situation. Ricken Financial LLC is not permitted to offer, and no statement made during the show shall constitute tax or legal advice. Our firm is not affiliated with or endorsed by the U.S. government or any governmental agency. The information and opinions contained herein provided by third parties have been obtained from sources believed to be reliable, but accuracy and completeness cannot be guaranteed by Ricken Financial LLC.
Please remember that converting an employer plan account to a Roth IRA is a taxable event. Increased taxable income from the Roth IRA conversion may have several consequences. Be sure to consult with a qualified tax advisor before making any decisions regarding your IRA.